Welcome back to the 3S podcast, where we push past our limits, we endure pain, and we achieve greatness. On this podcast, this is where we talk about what it takes when we sacrifice, suffer to get to our end destination, which is our success. We have an awesome, amazing guest on here. One of my close homies, my friends. He's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He's working. He's doing his own thing. We got Peyton Luna up in the building, bro. He's going to be spitting some games. We're going to get some insight on him and his journey on what it took to get to where he is today and where he's trying to go and what that kind of looks like for him. And then we're just going to be spitting some gems out for you guys just so you guys can kind of hear the mindset that we have and what we're trying to do to get to where we're trying to go. But welcome in, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
Bro.
This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bro. This is exciting, man.
Yeah, this is crazy. Never would have thought of this. This is awesome.
It is weird because we got here pretty quick, and then I kept posting about my podcast, and he's like, Remy, bro, like we gotta do it. So I was like, dude, you free? He's like, yes, bro. So we decided to jump on. We're gonna do it. But I mean, just a quick little introduction of who you are, kind of what you do, and just I guess what you've been up to recently, bro. Like what kind of makes you keep going, man?
Man, that's a great question. I guess where it all started was me trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my future. Playing football at Fort Hays was a blessing and a very eye-opening opportunity for me to see, where I could go in my life. And I ended up quitting football after, I think, 2.5 years. I was just like, man, I mean, I shouldn't be feeling this, like, emotional before practices. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. Honesty is the best policy, but there would be times before practice where I would just break down, like, I would cry, and, like, it was very hard. I told myself, like, is this worth, the mental, like, suffering of playing a sport I grew up loving and then just falling out of it. It was pretty tough, but it put me to where I am today where, now I got a good plan on what I want to do as a career in my life, and doing this side hustle of landscaping and stuff. It's opened a lot of doors for me and made me to help a lot of people out that needed help.
Yeah, bro. I mean, that's huge too because I feel like the stuff that we go through ends up molding us into who we're trying to become.
Switching from 3 majors. 1, I was a bio major. I didn't want to do that. 2, sports management. I quit football, didn't care for it anymore, quit that. And now I'm construction management, where I can actually go to class and learn things that I'm interested in. And it's crazy how your grades can change from taking a class you don't care about from taking a class you're, like, interested in.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just night and day difference, and I got to give thanks to my uncle because he was like, you know what, try it out. I guarantee you'll love it, with ADHD and all. Like, I can't sit in the classroom and just sit there. Yeah, I got to have my hands on something. And, taking these classes, I got to pour concrete. I'm getting to learn how buildings are built. And in this internship coming up, they pay me pretty good. I'm getting to choose whether I want to be in the field or in the office.
Yeah.
And if I want to be in the field, I'll be able to travel to different states. I don't know what state yet. They haven't gotten back to me, but it should be pretty soon. But going to different states, they'll pay me per diem, which is per mileage I drive, they'll pay me. And for like probably 3 weeks max, we were like, yeah, this ain't it. So we started doing our own thing and made a lot more money, and we got to learn, we got to fail, which is very important. And now being a junior here in college it's pretty crazy how time flies by.
Oh, it goes quick.
Yeah. But back then I had an app, and my whole community was in it, just talking about random stuff. And me and Bryce, we posted like an ad of like us mowing, cleaning gutters, power washing, whatever it may be. We weren't scared to do it, even if it was our first time. We were gonna try no matter what. And we got a lot of customers, and I kind of brought that here. And Hayes is a little different. Not a lot of people are on that same app, and I think most customers come from like knocking on doors
Yeah,
here.
word of mouth for
Yeah,
sure.
word of
For
mouth
sure.
for yeah. And but yeah, I've been power washing. I've been mowing. And funny story, when I first started here, I was power washing Roy's house,
Oh yeah.
and um, it took like 2 or 3 days. They had a pretty decent backyard, and I was just doing it for free just to get the feel of how my equipment worked. And the last day I was done, and I turned the water faucet off all the way that I thought.
God.
And Roy calls me a couple days later. He's like, "You flooded our basement." Almost flooded it. It was, yeah. I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah, dude. I mean, it's leaking through our carpet." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And of course, I was trying to do something nice, and that happened. But it wasn't too bad. Um, this company came in, brought in a bunch of fans, ripped the carpet out, drill holes in the wall to dry up all that water, and everything up being good in the in the long run. And I felt really bad. I was down on myself. I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't do this. I can't even, you know. I flooded my best friend's apartment, and Roy's parents are great people. And I was texting his dad. I was like, man, I feel like a failure, this and that. And he's like, you failing helps you learn, and that failure will, open so many doors in the future. And now I will forever remember to make sure that that faucet is turned all the way off.
Bro.
And another cool thing is the company that came in and fixed the basement told, or no, not told, they were talking to, or Roy's parents were talking to that company and telling him, what all happened and how I was trying to do a good thing for him. And that boss was like, man, my first time, doing my job, I flooded the basement too. And they were trying to offer me a job because of that mistake and how, like, I wasn't, willing to quit and I wanted to keep going.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's important that people know that not everything's going to be perfect. You're going to mess up. Things are going to happen. It's what you do with those mistakes that make you who you are.
Amen.
And, yeah.
I think that's so huge too, because it's like you start to learn from those little things that end up being big things, because like you went out of your way to try and give somebody something, and then you see that it backfires, and then you sit there and you're questioning what you're doing. You're like, is this really what I want? Is this really what's going to happen? And I really relate with that and resonate with it, because when I first started cutting hair and when I started opening up like my businesses as well, it's like every single time when you first start, like there's always going to be that one thing that like tries to deter you from doing that. Yeah. Whether it be a flooded basement. Yeah. For me, it was the terrible haircuts and people making fun of me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And making fun of the people that I cut. And so like I think when we go through those moments of quote unquote like failure or detrimental experiences, we just learn so much from it, because through that quote unquote failure, we find out. And I said it on my last podcast, it's like, you don't fail, you just find out. Find out a new way of doing something, find out another way to kind of go about something. And I think that's your lived experience, and it's like you just got to continue to keep doing it. And I think that's something that's really, really cool in entrepreneurship, in business, is because we get to be the first people to mess up, but we also have the capability to then in turn use that failure, quote unquote, to implement something different so we don't make that same mistake again, and then grow from there. And I think that's something super big. But question for you, man, is like, how was growing up? Because you're not from Hayes. Like you said, when you and your friend you were in Texas. You guys started your business down there. You were doing that for a while. How was growing up in Texas? Like, what was your childhood like? What kind of molded you into? Because you said football was a big thing. You were doing sports probably your entire life. What kind of pushed you down the path of coming to Hayes? And how was growing up in Texas for you?
It's day and night. Texas to Kansas. Kansas is a lot of land. Texas is a lot of land. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff to do in Texas. There's a lot of people in Texas. And growing up, man, I was playing football before I even knew how to tie my shoes. And I played all through high school. We had a great team. And, in my free time, me and Bryce, again, we wanted to make money. We were like, how
Oh
can we
yeah.
make money? Which also like kept us out of trouble
Oh
too.
yeah.
So that was a good thing. Let's see. Um, I've never met my real dad.
Yeah.
So another big inspiration for me is my father that raised me. I wasn't his child, and here my mom was pregnant, and my dad that raised me.
We're trying to achieve, and it honestly creates a new perspective of what the reality is. And so I guess just speak a little bit more about your side hustle. Like what are you doing? What kind of got you started into it, and then like where are you trying to go with that?
I'm in landscaping, like I said. I do a bunch of different things. Pretty much like whatever needs they have, I'm able to get it done. Just from past experiences. My uncle's in the construction field, and he draws a lot of stuff on the computers, and he also does like a lot of home projects back at home. And I learned a lot from him and one of my best friends down in Texas. We both started like our own like landscaping company, like mowing and stuff.
Yep.
And sometimes we'd do our own things, and sometimes we would do stuff together. And before that, we both worked at Famous Footwear. They had an on and off relationship, and he decided to step in and take care of me, help raise me, which is a great blessing because I don't know where I'd be if he didn't do that. So he went to military. My mom was in college. So ever since then, my dad's been working his butt off, trying to be able to provide for his family, which is like, I have endless amount of respect for him, and Reyes is in my name. So when
Yeah.
people look at me and I'm, 6'6", and like, your last name's Reyes, it sounds a little funny, but there's a very nice story behind why it is. And can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
I was just moving it because when you turn over here, so I can hear your voice better.
Yeah. And growing up, I had ADHD. I could never focus in class, and like the only thing I was really good at was like working with my hands. My dad taught me how to change oil in a car before I even knew how to drive.
Yeah.
He taught me how to change tires, brake pads, rotors, all this stuff. And I've learned a lot from my dad, and that's what made me to, I'm not scared to go up to anybody and like ask them, hey, do you need this done? I'm willing to do this. Um, he's taught me like, you know, if you go out and you deal with that uncomfort for that little bit, it can open so many doors. I mean, I was just telling you earlier, I was going to do this job for this old man, and I didn't know if I was at the right house or not. So I walked
Yeah.
up to the people, and they didn't say a word to me. I was like, I hope I'm in the right spot. Are y'all so and so? And they didn't say yeah. They were like, you can just go sit right here. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I got in, I opened the door, sat down, and didn't say a word to me. I mean, he just put it in drive and went. I was like, all right, I mean, we're here. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to help him out and get out. And then he started to open up, ask me my story, what I did, if I went out to parties and stuff like that. And, man, that was probably one of the most awkward moments in my life. But in the end, he was like a really nice guy, and he had some money on him. I mean, you should have seen his garage.
Yeah, boy, it's loaded, bro.
Yeah, I did a simple thing. I mean, I never had to deal with like replacing like tractor, equipment.
Oh, yeah.
His window was shattered. He's like, "Can you put this on for me?" I was like, "I can try."
Yep.
And I did, and it was pretty easy. So, I can say I know how to change a tractor window.
Come on, brother.
Yeah. And then he had me do some other stuff. He had me power wash a little bit, and he had a side by side, and I sprayed that off too. I was just trying to help. The man could barely walk, and I charged him a total of $40.
Yeah.
I didn't charge him out the
Chance.
Yeah.
And it's like every single time when you start something new, you start something fresh. It's like when you sit there and you wait, you're anticipating everything to go right, everything to start jumping, everything to be like,
Yeah.
okay, bro, now I got $6,000 in my account from doing 2 projects. And it's like, we want this instant gratification, but it's like, those slow moments when stuff isn't always going the way that we want it to is really what is huge. And I think that's something that you have to learn how to endure that, live in that, like feel that moment. So therefore you know, like, okay, times are gonna be slow. This has happened to me before.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, what do you do in that time when it's slow in order to make it progress?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's really awesome too. But I think something that you said, like you were talking about your dad, like you grew up without a dad, like an actual, like your biological father was not in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And like I can really relate on that because I got raised by my grandparents. Like my grandparents raised me. I did have a mom, I did have a dad. My mom was not in my life, but my dad was. He was in my life, but he struggled with his own problems and his own battles with addiction, and whether it be staying in and out of jail, coming in and out, and just trying to figure out what his purpose was. So I really do relate on that. And something I'd ask you too is like having that role model, like being in your life and being able to have a stepfather that works. Like how much did that impact you? And you said it, like that's what made you who you are today. But like, did it hurt you to not have your real father there? Like, do you still think about that, or you know what I'm saying?
Growing up, people were like, that there's no way that's your dad, but I didn't want to believe that, and I was like, no, this is my dad. And the older I got, the bigger I grew, and I was like, well, he might not actually be my dad.
Yeah.
So one day, Bryce was like, dude, you gotta ask him. So I went home and I sat down. I was like, are you my real father? And he said no. And I remember breaking down because growing up I always felt like an emptiness.
Yeah.
Like something was missing. And so like it was hard to like comprehend. Like my whole time growing up, I didn't have like my biological father with me since I was little. But I'm very blessed to have my dad that raised me, because like again, I don't know where I would be if my dad didn't step in, because he didn't have to do that.
No.
He chose to, and
Yeah.
I thank God for that a lot every day. And I was sad for a couple of days, but then I was like, I mean, I can be sad, but really I don't need to be sad, because I had a dad growing up, and I mean, I'm forever grateful. I mean, I think I'll meet my biological father one day, but I'm not in any rush.
Yeah.
I'm focused on other things right now. Trying to get my future in stone. Like this internship coming up is a big opportunity for me.
Speak about that, bro. Yeah, talk about the internship that you got going, because we were talking about it a little bit, and I think that's something that's going to be really big for you.
Yeah. So while I was playing football, I was doing a major I didn't really care about. I was like, yeah, I'll play football and I'll coach. And I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I'm sitting in class. I'm like, I don't really have interest for this stuff. And then I quit, and I was like, all right, like football's not in the cards anymore. I don't really care for football anymore. So Kaya, my girlfriend, she pushed me to where I needed to go. She's like, look, you're taking these classes that you're paying for, and you don't know what to do with them. So like, you need to get your stuff straight, or I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Which it was very eye opening. So I went home. I think we're on break or something.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my uncle that's in the construction field right now. I was like, man, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I'm good at. Because my whole life, it was nothing but football. I want to go to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to college and you realize, like, man, this is a business. Like, they're bringing in kids from the portal every year, and then either you move up in the depth chart or you move further down in the depth chart.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting paid either, which was it was rough, waking up early in the mornings, I'm not getting paid a single dime, and I'm working my tail off, and seeing other people come in and they're like, wow, this kid's good. I don't know if I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And I'm wasting all this time playing football when my future is coming up around the corner and I still don't know what I want to do.
Yep.
So being at home, I was talking to my uncle. He's like, man, you can't go wrong with construction. Everyone needs construction done.
Mm-hmm.
And it he kind of related to me when he was younger. He didn't know what he wanted to do, and he found that, and he fell in love with it. I
Yep.
mean, I was home a couple months ago, and I got to take measurements of a softball field that was going to be put up, and that was like a really cool moment for me because I got to get a little taste of what it's going to be like. And this internship is a pretty big opportunity for me because, I mean, I changed my major from construction management. I mean, not construction management, sports management,
Mm-hmm.
to be a coach now to being a PM, which is a project manager for
Mm-hmm.
y'all that don't know, and they make some pretty good money. So it was crazy for yes. I mean, sorry, I don't know if you
Nah, you can
cuss,
cut. Say what you want, bro.
but yeah,
Say what you want.
I helped him out, and I'm kind of going everywhere. But my dad's been a real role model for me. I mean, he's been working nonstop ever since I can remember, on
Mm-hmm.
top of teaching me life lessons, and he's always told me like you're always gonna fail. It's what you do with that failure, you
Amen.
know.
That's
But
huge.
yeah, and now I just go around, you know. I always wanted to work for myself. Like I hated working for other people because I'm like, man, I can be doing so much more with my time that's
Mm-hmm.
more productive than, you know, working at Home Depot. And
Yep.
I can make a 2 weeks paycheck in one day
Mm-hmm.
if I had some work.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty slow, but I'm planning on, you know, getting these business cards out, going to doors, you know, giving them out to churches, my church. And I see a lot of customers in the future,
Amen.
which is good. But right now, it's God's timing, you know what I mean? I'm not in any rush, and I'm just waiting for my opportunity to take it.
Come on, bro. I think that's so huge. There's a lot right there that like to unpack because, like, just with the end thing of what you said, it's like sometimes things do get slow, and I think that's just how it is, and it's something that we all have to kind of take into consideration. Because like, whether it be barbering for me, like when I first started, dog, I wasn't getting like anybody. Like I was just trying to wait, just word of mouth, just like hope. Like I was like sitting there, like, bro, please come to me, like, bro, just give me a shot, give me a.
They're giving me these opportunities to, again, work in the fields or in the office or both,
Mhm.
which I'm going to do both. You know, my uncle told me it's good to get your hands on out there in the field. That way you're more sharp in the office because you know
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
talking about.
Yep.
So this internship is pretty cool. They came to my school, and there's a bunch of different companies that are in different states. You know, some stay in a specific spot, some go from state to state, and I kind of chose which ones that would fit me the best. And I went to this company, and they had to like pitch a presentation beforehand. And I was like, well, you know, they're in Wichita, which is where Kaya stays, which is really convenient. I could save money. And I was like, I'm interested. I gave them my resume. A couple of days later, they wanted to have a meeting with me on Zoom and ask me more questions. And I told them, I was like, I'm not scared to fail. You know, I'm willing to try and learn. And they were asking me a bunch of questions like, what can you do under pressure? And I was like, you know, I played football growing up. There was a lot of pressure all the time, and I'm pretty good at blocking out the noise.
Oh yeah.
And so I guess I stood out to them, and they were giving me the opportunity, and they even like sent me a bunch of Carhartt stuff in the mail, which was pretty cool.
The free stuff.
Yeah, got a
They
little
trying to
free
win you
stuff.
over, bro. Huh? They trying to get to your
Yeah.
heart, bro.
So I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully, I can stay in Wichita and, you know, save some money, get a better relationship with my lady, and man, it's crazy. I don't know what my future holds, but it's up to the man above. I mean, I'm here for it. You know, I have faith. You know, I wore the shirt, faith over fear.
Amen.
So
I think
I'm
that's
just waiting
huge.
now.
That's huge, brother.
Yeah.
That's huge, bro. Because I mean, when you get opportunities like that, and a lot of people like like the business route's always good. The 9 to 5 will give you some sort of comfortability, but it's like you betting on yourself, no matter what it is that you end up doing, is going to take you farther than anything. And you kind of said it just in a small sense, just based on like classes. Like if you're doing something you hate, a direct correlation to that will be your grades. Like if you hate the classes you're in, your grades are going to be trash. But if you actually are interested and you love what you do, like your grades are literally going to show that. Like you're going to have better grades. All your stuff's going to be way up because you're like, oh, I actually love what I'm doing. I care about what I'm doing. This is where I want to go. This is kind of how I want to do this. And I think that's something that's just so awesome because that's why I love what I get to do. Like I get to set up these cameras. I get to sit here and chill and talk to some of my best friends and get to talk to people I might not even know that much, but it's like I get to see their story, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I think that's why, like, I've gotten to where I've gotten so fast, and that's why I know you're gonna go to where you're gonna go and where you're supposed to go, because everybody's got that journey. But just the fact that you actually care about what you're doing and you're actually passionate about it is something that I think will take you farther than anything else. Because, like you say, it's like you're gonna go through those hard times. Like your dad tells you, it's like you're gonna fail. But through that failure is where you know, like, this is what you learn from. This is how you grow. And I think that's something that is just so awesome because it just takes that step of faith. And it's like 1,000-mile journey starts with one step. Fear is an ocean wide and an inch deep. It's like we just have to understand that when we have these things that come up in our life, it's just take advantage of them as they come. As possible as your life may make it to do something that you actually genuinely care about, that's when you know you need to step forward and take advantage of that opportunity. And I think that that's what you're doing. And that's something that's so exciting to see you do because it's like the people I surround myself with, I don't care if you got no dollars to your name or you got $1 million to your name. If you're working towards goals, that's what really brings me peace and makes me happy, like inside, because it's like I see my friends trying, I see them going to shoot for what they care about, whether it's be a lawyer, whether it's be a freaking dentist, whether it's work at Casey's and become a GM of all the Casey's in the town. It's whatever. Just set your goals and your aspirations high because that's what's going to take you to where you want to go. And I think that's something that I really see, and that's awesome what you do. And I'd ask you, is just like, through this internship and through all this stuff that you're doing, like, what are some goals that you have for your future? Like, where do you want to be? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what exactly are you trying to get out of this? And, like, is it more open to you? Like, do you not have a direct path? Or what would life look like if money was no thing, you were running your own business, you through being a project manager, you decided to grow your own company and do stuff like that? Like, what does that look like for you, and where are you trying to go with it, you know?
I think I'm more open. I'm trying to get a feel of, do I want to be on the field, or do I want to be in the office, getting estimates, writing emails. But I think the main goal, I want to be a project manager where I go to the site and I make sure things are getting done the right way. And it's cool because, when I get my own house and I want to do certain things, I can do that because I'm in that field and I save a lot of money. I don't have to pay anybody to do it. I can do it myself. And again, I've done a lot of projects. Like my grandfather was trying to remodel a house and sell it, and I painted the whole house. I put trim in. I put the flooring in. I did a little bit of electrical, but I got to learn. And now, if you wanted to put hard floors in here, I can do that for you, which is awesome because I never thought I'd be able to do stuff like that. I was always like, man, what do I want to do? I'm not that smart, blah, blah, blah. And in this internship, I'm going to be able to see, what I'm going to want to do. But the end goal is to be a project manager, hopefully in Texas. I mean, my uncle said, when you graduate, there's a spot for you in his company if I want to take it. But it's a little difficult, having a girlfriend that's in another state, who wants to see her siblings grow up, which is perfectly fine. I'm willing to make sacrifices and just to see what the best option for us in the future is. And, I think about the future a lot, what I'm going to do, but I'm kind of at a pause point right now until this internship comes, which I think is going to be awesome. So
that's huge, bro. That's huge because it's like you have those opportunities. You're just kind of waiting to see how stuff plays out. you're trying to kind of fit the pieces of the puzzle together. And I mean, that's absolutely awesome, bro. I can't wait to see what you do with that journey. And I mean, you kind of talked about it too. It's like you got to sacrifice some things to get what you need and where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that comes with sacrificing time, effort, energy. And even like when you have that significant other, sometimes that comes with sacrificing something that you want for what they need. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that's really huge that I see that you do is like, one thing about you, you're always caring about people. You're always putting your first, like you wear your heart on your sleeve, bro. And I really do admire that about you. And I take a lot from you because it's like I see the things that you're doing for other people and how you're trying to work for them and work with them. And that's just super awesome, bro. And I think that you're going to do some crazy things. And it's about to be, I'm going to be calling P. Dizzy up about like 5 years from now. Hey, bro, what you doing? Well, I'm working on a multi-million-dollar contract for this company. And, and I'm going to be sitting here like, oh, shoot, boy. This man's going crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for sure.
No, that's awesome, bro. And then I think something that you are doing that's really cool too is just continuing to stay moving, because that's something that we talked about for a while for you, is that when you are in the midst of that, I'd say season of trying to figure out what you wanted to do, like whether it be for football, like that you didn't want to do that anymore, like you just continue to stay moving. Like I think that's something that needs to be talked about too. Like, what was your mindset like when you were going through all of that hardship with trying to figure out where you wanted to go? Like in the middle of football and you knowing that this isn't what I want, but there's something more that's out there that I can feel it, but I'm not there yet.
My mindset was pretty down low. I mean, like you spoke about your injury, you know, you were depressed all the time, and that was me. You know, I was doing things I wasn't supposed to do. I wasn't turning in my homework. I was being lazy. And if it wasn't for Kaya, I mean, honestly, I don't know where I would be, you know. And she put me on the right track, which is a great sign in a woman that you'd want. A woman that pushes a man where she needs him to be. And it was beautiful, because now I'm, you know, she's excited for me. My family's excited for me that I have something that I want to do and I'm set on doing.
Amen.
And I guess my mindset through that hardship would just, I was lost, honestly, you know. I was falling away from Christ. I was hanging out with the wrong people. And Kaya kind of brought me up out of that. And
that's huge, bro. That's awesome, brother. Like, I think that's really huge, too, because, I mean, we talk about it a lot, too. And then when we first started hanging out versus, like, now, it's like we're both busy. We both got our stuff going on. But, like, now it's like every time we hang out together, the conversations are structured around what we can do to be better, how we can grow, and what we're trying to do. And it's just funny to see how even our relationship between each other has grown, because you just said it's like what you surround yourself with is what you become. Like, and when you were surrounding yourself with just negativity, like the depressive state that you were in with football, you were choosing all the wrong things. And now with where you're trying to go, like how has the people around you, including your girlfriend, like impacted you in such a big way to become who you know that you can be and what you can achieve? How has that helped you? And then also on the flip side of that, like how detrimental was it to you to hang around people who were pushing you towards things that just weren't positive?
The first thing I would say, you know, I was so nervous and like disappointed in myself that I've come this far playing football to just quit. And it took a lot of time to come to realization, like, you know, I would rather be happy and get a good path for myself rather than just stick it out and play football and maybe go to the NFL, which was probably not going to happen because, you know, going into junior year, not getting any reps, I was like, I'm wasting my time. And I was like, you know, I was afraid of my parents being disappointed in me, you know, my friends. I was like, I've come this far to just quit. It was a burden on me, but at the end of the day, I cared about my mental health. And I was like, I told my coaches, like, I appreciate you for the opportunity, but I don't think this is for me anymore. And I was expecting, like, a, you know, oh, you're soft, blah, 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 blah. and they sent me a text saying, we appreciate you for giving us your time and your efforts, and if you ever need like a reference for a job, you just let me know. Which was really weightlifting because I was expecting the exact opposite. Yeah, and my parents, they were I wouldn't say disappointed, but I think they were worried that I was going to get into trouble, now that I wasn't playing a sport, and which was kind of the opposite because, going through those times I was hanging out with a group of friends that are no longer here. I mean, that sounds really deep. They're still here on the earth, but they're just not here in Hayes anymore.
Yeah, no, I get what you're
for a
saying.
reason. And going out, the one thing people value the most and they don't know it is time. So it's what you do with your time that, molds your future. I'll drive through Hayes and I'll see people having darties, and I'm like, man, I couldn't see myself doing that. Like, there's something better I could be doing, even if it's just at home with the lady, building a better relationship with her rather than getting drunk, going to the bars, and perhaps, doing something you regret for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I kind of separated myself from that, and I don't go out anymore, barely. I just think there's something else I could be doing with my time. And it's just, my mental health in that time, I was afraid of my parents, being disappointed in me. And but it was the opposite, and they supported me, and I've proven to them that I'm on a strong path, and now we're here now. So
amen, bro. I mean, that's huge. I mean, it's just a testament to you because, like you said, when we first met, what was that, like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago.
When you started cutting in the garage. Yeah.
Seriously. So about I was still cutting in the garage when I met him, and it's just funny because like everything he says is true. It's like, you can go throw the darty, you can go do that, you can have a good time, but it's like you're choosing momentary gratification over something that's going to actually be purposeful and bring you life and pour into you. And it's like, what a lot of people don't do, and you said it, it's like they want to spend their time doing something that is going to please them now, rather than understanding if they sacrifice right now, suffer a little bit to get to where they want to go, and just enjoy and be present with the moment and the journey. Because it's like, I sit here all the time, it's like, bro, I could be going out right now, I could be going to drink with my buddies, I could be going and smoking with some friends, I could be doing something that might make me quote unquote happy. I wouldn't even say that, because it's like you said, it's like you're going to end up doing something at these places that you're going to regret for your entire life. And I think there's two hards, bro. You can choose living a life of regret, which is hard. You're going to regret everything you did, wish you were somewhere else, wish you were doing something better, and you're going to be sitting there like, well, what if I would have done this, what if I would have chose that path, what if this, what if that. Or you can live a life that's hard, where you sit back and you're like, damn, I really did all that to get here. I've really worked my ass off, gritted my teeth, pushed past my limits in order to get to the places that I was trying to go. And I think that's something that a lot of people just kind of brush over, because anybody can do it, but not everybody wants to do it. And then they sit in there and complain about it. And I think you've seen this too. It's like, whether it be friends, whether it be family, whether it be like anybody that you surround yourself in life, like, how have you seen that, like for yourself, like just people like, oh, well, I want this, and then do nothing about it, like, you know what I'm saying? Because that just rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
People, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Amen.
So.
Amen. That's a bar, bro. Amen.
People are like, man, I want to do this and this, and they're going out on the weekend, getting hammered, and I have a very small group of friends for a reason, and me and Roy are trying to get this business going, and having somebody else to have those same driven goals as you is very, very pushing, and it's a lot easier than doing it by yourself, because you pray for rain, but you got to deal with the mud. I mean, you're gonna have failures, it's gonna happen, nobody's perfect, you're going to fail time and time again, And, pressure makes diamonds. Shout out Keenan Dinkle.
Shout out, brother. K Dink, bro.
Yeah, and I think one thing that keeps me going and pushing me to be better is, growing up, I didn't grow up in a very nice house, or very nice neighborhood, or very nice cars getting picked up in after school. And it's a blessing to see how my parents struggled. I told myself, I didn't want that. I want a nice house, I want nice cars. And that's pushed me to shape the life that I want. And it's just a blessing to see people's struggles and you learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it on your podcast, like seeing your parents struggle, you're like, I don't want that for myself. I want to set up my future for my kids' kids.
Yeah.
And that's just very motivating,
Yeah.
Striving for the life you want. You can do anything you put your mind to. You just have to take that first step, and you got to keep going and keep going and keep going. And I'm not perfect. Sometimes I can be lazy. Sometimes I don't want to do things, but you just got to keep going. And if you want it, you can get it. It just comes to how bad you really want it.
Amen, bro. I think that's so huge too, because that's something that it just honestly, like I said on my podcast, like I was so scared of failure for the longest time until I realized that failure was beneficial to me.
Mm-hmm.
But then what really started scaring me was the fact that I'm going to want to tell my kids one day, hey, I want you to go achieve all your dreams, all your aspirations. I want you to go be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. And I'm going to be sitting here saying, hey, well, I didn't do it, but you got to do it. Who the hell am I to sit there and tell my kid to do that? The hypocrisy is crazy. Who am I to sit there and tell my kids, hey, bro, you got my blood, you can do this, when I didn't do it?
Yeah.
Like, that scares me more now than anything, because it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, my kid's going to be there and they're like, bro, we're sitting in a, like, $100,000 house, barely making ends meet. We got 2 bedrooms, like 1 bath, and like I'm gonna be sitting here talking to my kids, and I'm gonna be like, oh well, go do what you're supposed to do, and I didn't though, but I know you might be able to. And it's like, bro, no. Like, I'm supposed to pave the way for my lineage. I'm supposed to pave the way for the empire that I'm trying to create. And I think that's something that just really resonates with me, because it's like, there's no problem if you grew up in the struggle, but at the end of the day, you got the choice to do what you need to do to get to where you're trying to go. And that's not, that's just not what's pitched to people anymore. Like, people don't get to hear that all the time. People are always now in today's society victimizing their situation, victimizing what's happening to them. It's everybody else's fault but their own. But something that I sit back and realize is like, bro, you got a choice. Either you want this or you want that. This is going to take you there, and that's what's going to take you to where you're trying to go. And it's like, your inputs are a direct correlation to your outputs. I talk about that a lot with my roommate, because what you put in is what you get out. Whether you're putting in detrimental inputs, you're going to get detrimental outputs. If you're putting in beneficial inputs, you're going to get out beneficial outputs. And I think that's something that is so key to instill into your brain, because that's what we fall back on. It's like our subconscious mind, what we genuinely believe in our soul, is what we fall back on. Like, if you've trained your mind up to blame everybody else, you have a bunch of trauma that you haven't dealt with, you have a lot of these situations that just are constantly, you're keeping tabs open in your brain. It's pulling your energy and efforts away from what you know that you can do and what you need to do. And I think that's something that's so huge too, is because when you stop victimizing your situation and letting the outward things affect who you are, that's when you gain your purpose. Because now you understand what you need to do in order to get to where you want to go. And I think that's something that's just so huge. And I think that's so relevant in our life. Because, like, think about schools, right? Like, they're telling you and teaching you how to be a good worker. Like, and that's fine. Like, if you want to go work. But be the best you possibly can be at it. And that's not something that they instill in you. It's like, they'll go tell you, oh, you need to be good, you need to be the best. But it's like, they're sitting here and you're getting by with the bare minimum doing something you hate. And I think, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you almost got stuck in that.
Yeah.
You almost got stuck in that trap. And now it's like you feel that sense of freedom, that weight lifted off you, because now you have that purpose. Now you have that plan. And now you can go achieve and become the best at whatever you end up doing, you know? And I think that's what's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard to listen and take advice from people that aren't where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to learn yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You have to go out and do trial and error, figure out what you want to do, what you don't want to do. And I mean, like I said, nothing changes if nothing changes. So I had to make some changes to be where I'm at today.
Yeah, bro.
And as hard as it was to quit and give up on my big dream, I realized that that's not, what the Lord had planned for me. He had other plans, and as bad as I wanted them to happen, they weren't going to happen. And I saw that. I would pray, give me a sign, let me know if this is the right decision.
Yeah.
And my emotions kept getting stronger. Like before practices, I would be dreading going to practice as soon as I woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is probably the sign, and I don't regret it. So
Yeah. That's crazy.
yeah.
That's good, though.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that you found that out,
Yeah.
Because there's an analogy, and I think that you might have heard it, you might not have, but it's like this kid, he was talking to his mom, and his mom tells him, he's like, go make your bed. So this kid goes into his room, and he sits down, he gets on his knees, and he starts praying. He's like, Lord, help me make my bed, help me make my bed, help me make my bed, help me make my bed.
Mm-hmm.
And he was praying, and he prayed for 30 minutes. His mom walks in, and she says, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm praying to God to help me make my bed. And she sat there and told him, and you can pray all you want, but it's not going to get done if you don't take action. It's like the Lord will give you what you know you need to do, but it means nothing if you don't act upon it. Like, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize. It's like whether that's spiritual, emotional, physical, it's like we all know sometimes what we need to do. But the question is now, do we act on it? You know what I'm saying? It's like whenever we get stuck in a situation, it's like, well, you feel lost. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, I just got to keep moving forward. Now you know what you need to do, so why aren't you doing it? And that's something that I think is so huge, too. It's because it's like nothing changes if nothing changes.
Exactly.
Bro. Amen. And it's like if you don't do anything, if I just sit here and look at my bed and look at my laundry that's just sitting in my room, I'm going to be like, yeah, just get it done. Well, I'm going to come back a week later and it's still going to be sitting there because nothing happened, There's no outside force working on it in order to get done. And I just think that that's something that's so awesome, bro. And it's just like, it's crazy because there's so many little, like, minute things that kind of put in place what we need to do in order to go to the place we're trying to go, bro. And I think that's so awesome, bro.
That's very awesome.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Future's bright.
Amen.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, I guess it's time to wrap her up, brother.
I don't know how long we've been here.
We've just been chatting.
Feels like
been
3
good.
minutes.
Yeah, it feels like it's been 2 seconds, bro.
Yeah.
We've got some great information from this man. I mean, he dropped some freaking gems. You guys got to hear a little bit about his story on what he did, what it kind of took for him to get to where he's trying to go, just what his purpose is, what his calling is. And I think that you guys are going to relate to this too, because I'm sure there's a college student out there that's sitting in the same position, whether you're in football or whether you're just not in the spot that you want to be. You're doing majors that don't want to put you in the places that you're trying to go. I'm sure that you guys can relate to this because he has a divine story that's directly correlated to him. But I know that there are people out there that you guys can relate to that as well, because I mean, I do. I was stuck in a spot that I didn't know where I wanted to go, and it took me a while to figure out what I wanted, and then that helped me open my eyes to a reality that could be possible. And I think you guys are really going to resonate with what Peyton has to say too, because it's just crazy where you can end up without knowing what you're going to do to get to where you're trying to go. And it all just takes one step. I mean, it takes that sacrifice, man. And it takes a little bit of grit in your teeth and suffrage a little bit to get to that point of success. And I think that's something that's really going to help, like, transform your guys' lives, But I just want to thank you personally for jumping on the podcast, bro, and giving me the opportunity to speak to you. And then also being vulnerable enough to where other people can listen to what you got to say, man, because it's real, bro, And I appreciate you, brother, like
yes,
a lot,
thank
man.
You.
This means a lot, man.
Being the first guest is pretty awesome.
Hell yeah.
I appreciate it.
that's clutch, bro. Always, brother. Always, man. But we're gonna call it there, bro. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that follow button. Tune in for more podcasts. We're gonna be dropping every single week, bro. So you guys know, baby, faith over fear, brother. Sacrifice, suffer, and succeed. Get to where you guys are trying to go. Do what needs to be done, and the choice is yours.